Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. If you want to grow the business you already have or simply get started working for yourself, we can help you. Every week right here, small business owners tell their secrets about starting, running, and growing a business. Bob Sakata has been doing this for decades. Let's meet Bob in Brighton, Colorado. It's harvest time on one of Bob Sakata's fields in Colorado. The big machines do the work now, but Bob shows me the pleasure of picking and tasting his specially developed fresh ear of corn.
Here it is.
Okay.
The machine goes like this.
Yep.
Picks it out. And you see how full that ear is?
So gorgeous.
And I won't test it out. You just bite into it.
Okay, and
so
this is going to taste fabulous raw, right, like this.
just like that.
It is incredible.
Let me see if you're.
You want to taste?
I'm going to see if you're
the
telling the truth.
professional. You're the professional. Now, why does it taste so good?
Put all the nutrients that this corn needs, so it would.
It has everything.
Everything
it
the
needs
corn needs
to be perfect.
Yeah, to be perfect.
Bob Sakata was born in 1926 and grew up on a 10-acre farm in California. He helped his father in the field and started thinking about how to make work easier. All right, so when you started farming, you didn't have any of this fancy equipment.
Oh no, you probably took a picture of one of the pictures I've had. We just started with really a team of horses and that John Deere tractor, and that leveler that you saw on the back of that picture I built with railroad ties and timbers because we needed a piece of machinery that would be able to level the land. And in those days, there wasn't hydraulics or that type of thing, so I had to innovate myself as being the hydraulic and adjust the blade manually to dig the dirt and cut the dirt and unload it and so forth.
So tell me about the first machine you thought of, or the first piece of equipment.
I think I was about 10 years old at that time, and Dad had us picking corn out in the field, and I was the one that was carrying the basket, and he would pick the corn. And when the basket got full, I had to walk and carry it all the way to the end underneath the shade tree and dump it, and he would come and pack it. And I thought that was silly. And so that night, I just made a little narrow sled with sides on it, and we had a horse, and I had the horse pull it. And so we were able to pick the corn and
So when
throw
you
it
were
in the
10 years
sled.
old, you were already figuring out ways to make farming easier for people.
Right. It's just all it's all common sense.
Okay.
And but I did have a very curious mind, and at the age of maybe 8 or 10 years old, I didn't go to bed reading a funny book. I would enjoy reading and seeing tractor magazines.
Wow.
And equipment magazines, and I'd look at it and I would say there's got to be a better way than the way they're making things.
Bob, this is a different looking tire to me. Tell me about this.
Well, I'm first impressed that you noticed that it's different.
Well, it's not flat. It has this bump in the middle of it.
That's right. It's what we designed, and all it is common sense. You just develop a tire that is in the same configuration as the furrow. This tire falls in the furrow and it just goes by itself. You don't have to steer it.
And what is this called? Has a name?
Oh, a single rib.
Single rib tire.
Yeah, single rib tire.
And now you get them straight from the factory.
Yeah.
How long ago was it that you invented this?
I think about 6 years ago.
Okay, so this is one of your new ones.
Oh yes, this is
Okay.
one of the
All right.
new ones.
And they didn't send you any big old royalty check yet.
No, but they're kind to me.
Steve Kniss is in charge of maintenance.
Yeah.
What do you do around here, Steve?
You name it. If it's broke, I fix it.
The machines.
Right.
And the machinery that goes into the field.
Right. All the machinery that goes in the field, those pixel harvesters you saw earlier and stuff, those are kind of a little bit my specialty. And
And you've been here a long time?
about 10 years this time.
Bob has been instrumental in bringing ideas into production. In other words, the tires, the different.
Yep.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
It's all common sense. It's all common sense. This man has more common sense than anybody I've ever seen.
We were at the field earlier today. We saw the machines harvesting and then
Mechanics,
dumping and then
uh-huh.
bringing. So they come here.
Right.
Now, what happens when they get here?
Well, you
and
saw-
did you invent all that?
Well, I don't know whether you could say I invented all that, but I drew it out and had the shop build it. The semi backs up against and unloads into the apron conveyor, which I call the big conveyor. And the girl that's sitting on top controls it all. And it gets dumped, and really it's just an efficient distribution system. But the most common distribution system is just a belt that goes around and around and around, and the girls pick it out of there. That's what I had first, the first one I built. And there was always maybe the front 10 girls always had the best, and the last 10 girls got the picking out. You know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But in this distribution system that I made, everything goes equal and it dumps.
Because it comes down the trough and then comes
Comes
down
under
to
the
each
belt.
worker.
Yeah, right. One of the biggest labor-saving item up there, as you saw, our saw line and the dehusker, and that is really something.
Did you invent those, or?
It was a company in Portland, Oregon, that made dehusking equipment for canning corn. So I flew up there and saw it. But for canning corn, it could be much severe, and it could bruise the kernels and it could get by, because they cut the kernel off the cob and put it in a can. But for what we're doing, we cannot have any bruising at all. Just cannot have any bruising. So I told them to put 40 durometer rubber, just plain rubber, that rolled. And then we
Solve the problem?
no, we put it in through there and it wouldn't husk anything. See? So the engineer over there said, "See, Mr. Sakata, I told you it won't work." So I said, wait just a minute. I said, "Do you have an air hose somewhere there?" And he said, "Yep." So I stood up on the machine and I put this air hose and put air on the husk. And as soon as I put air on the husk, it opened the husk up, and the rollers grabbed the husk and just husked it right off.
Wow.
Oh, that's all it took, is air.
So you're proof that it's the small business owners that are bringing the ideas to
Yeah.
the forefront.
Yeah, I grew up on a 10-acre farm and learned from the bottom up.
You listen to the people who are doing the work,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, because I understand it, because I started from there. And all my employees here know that I'm the cheapest paid man on the staff, because I don't want to be owning yachts and airplanes and so forth. I have a greater pleasure of having a new John Deere tractor, or having something that is more productive and more challenging.
so instead of buying a fancy car for yourself, you
Yeah.
put the money into a tractor that's more comfortable, that's better for one of your employees to
That's
work
right.
with to make their life a little better.
That's right. I think the main thing is there are two things in this business that you have to be sensitive of. is number one, your employees, because they're the ones that makes your company. And you have to try to make the workplace a pleasant workplace and try to make everything as easy as possible. And that is a ongoing challenge, continuously.
You have a lot of people who've been here a long time.
Yes, we're proud to tell you that we have third generation people working here. And that's rather unique on a farm because everybody wants to leave the farm
Yeah.
and go get a city job. The second thing that we have to be cognizant of is the quality of our product. We are not satisfied by our product leaving here and backing up in the produce warehouse, whether it's Safeway or wherever it is, and if they accept it there, we're not satisfied yet. We still scout inside the stores to make sure our product is the best of any.
Bob's company, Sakata Farms, is one of the top 100 vegetable growers in the U.S. He has hundreds of customers, including Safeway and Albertsons. So we saw you picking up corn. Were
Yes.
you picking certain ones?
Well, I was picking the bigger ones, but you don't have to worry about the quality because it's all good. And that's Sakata corn.
You're used to it.
Yes, I've had it before.
When I started the farm over 52 years ago, 26% of the population in the United States were farmers. It took 26% of us to grow the food for everybody. Today, there is 1.8%, less than 2%.
One of the efficiency decisions that you made, or you came up with this idea there ought to be one ear of corn on one stalk.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Well, about 30 years ago, 35 years ago, I was asked to speak at a sweet corn breeders meeting, and there were really outstanding large operators there, and I was just a young kid listening to their wisdom, and they wanted 3 years per stalk that looked green and higher yield per acre. And when it came to me, I certainly didn't want to argue with my successful colleagues, but I thought that I wanted a corn plant that only produced 1 ear per stalk, mainly because I could see today that we had to mechanically harvest our corn. And it would be difficult to design a machine that would harvest 3 years off of a stalk. But 1 year off the stalk, I felt that I could help design a machine. Then you could increase your plant population also.
So you started 35 years ago working on the product that you now have.
Correct. There was a genetic engineer that was willing to help me. And it took 20 years to come up with this so-called super sweet variety that the whole industry has at this point right now.
You invested your time, your energy, your money to test it and develop this and work with this genetic engineer, but you don't own the seed.
No. No, I think anything that would be an advantage to my colleagues in the business, why they can have it too.
Bob Sakata's mantra since the end of World War II has been lighten the load for the farm worker. While doing the back-breaking work himself since childhood, Bob was always thinking, how can a job be made easier for the worker? With this one big question occupying his mind, he has invented dozens of labor-saving devices and worked with big companies such as John Deere and Caterpillar to automate tasks he once did himself by hand. The 20-year pursuit to develop his sweet corn seed started with the idea that automated harvesting would work if there were only one husk of corn per stalk. While others were trying to grow more vegetables per stalk, Bob was doing the opposite. He could see that labor, both the time it takes to hand harvest and the toll hard physical labor takes on workers, could be minimized in the long run if corn could be harvested by a machine. What we can all learn from Bob is no matter what the business, think of long-term efficiencies. Invest now in engineering, machines, systems, procedures, and technology. And just like Bob, you'll reap the rewards. If you'd like to know more about what you've seen on this broadcast, go to smallbusinessschool.org. Bob's life hasn't been easy. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Bob was 15 and was placed in a relocation camp in Colorado.
December the 7th, 1941, Franklin Delano Roosevelt had the great description, a date of infamy, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. That was an embarrassing time for all of us. And because of public pressure and at that time, because of the safety of our welfare, is what the government said, they put us all into what they called relocation camp. But it was not a relocation camp. It was a concentration camp with 4 sentries standing on the corner. I was able to get a citizen's endorsement, and I left early. But my family stayed in the camp till the camp closed in 1945, I believe it was. And I went to school here in Brighton, and graduated from Brighton High School in 1943. But looking at the history of what we went through, much could be said about it. But I think that it is what the philosophy of what my father had told us, that you behave and you do what the government tells you to do, and that you prove that you could be worthy of being an American citizen. And I thought that was a great wisdom. And so today I would describe that total experience as a blessing in disguise, because from every hardship you learn, from every challenge you learn.
You had a couple of other huge challenges, crises, that were defining, I guess I would call them defining moments.
Oh, yeah.
Like with your leg. What happened with your leg?
Right here in this big barn, that was my shop. And I worked in there till past midnight, and I wanted to get the job done early, and I got in there about 5:30 in the morning, and no sooner I lit the acetylene torch, why we had an explosion. There was an empty gas barrel close by that took all the explosive fumes when I was working the night before. And 66% of my body was burnt 3rd degree, and they had covered me with a white sheet when I got to the hospital.
Because they thought you were dead?
Yes. Until my family doctor came there, and he just chewed everybody out. He said, "You don't know this guy. Take him to surgery quick." I remember going to surgery, and the doctors all said, "This guy can't feel a thing. We don't have to put him to sleep." They were tearing my coveralls off and pulling out all the burnt skin. And one of the nurses said, "He's feeling everything you're doing." And the doctor asked her, "How do you know?" I was holding her hands, and she said, "He's about ready to break my wrist." But that's when I learned that there is an Almighty.
So you were in the hospital a year?
Yeah, a little over a year. And they were sure that I would never walk again. And so I thanked him for that, and I thanked him for it. But I told the doctors, I said, why don't you let me and my God figure out whether I can walk again? But you do what you can. And here I am.
50 years ago you started and sort of got going. How long did it take before you were making a living?
Fortunately, at that time, there was a banker that understood farming and was willing to stick his neck out and make a character loan. You know, that's very rare today. And there was this one bank that loaned us money way beyond our net equity. And would you believe that 20 years after that, they had appointed me to be a director of that bank?
So, from the beginning,
Yeah.
you had a banker.
Yes.
So, a piece of advice you might give someone starting a business today about money, cash flow, finances.
First of all, you have to know your business. Know your business inside out. And I probably had the toughest challenge at that point because there was a lot of intangibles. It could flood, it could rain, and so forth. But I had a 5-year cash flow program that I gave to the bank of what we would be doing in 5 years.
That was based on what you thought.
Yeah.
You were expecting.
Yeah.
But you put the numbers on paper.
Numbers on paper. On a spreadsheet from January to December, and all the vendors that we would be buying things from. Then on the bottom was income of what my potential income would be, and how we would balance out cash flow wise.
So you demonstrated to these persons that you thought it through.
Yeah.
When did you get your first huge customer? I mean, 50 years ago, Albertsons didn't exist, Safeway
Yeah.
didn't exist, and didn't have big grocery chains back then.
Well, we found out many years ago that this business was becoming so competitive that whatever vendors we were using to help us, why we better integrate it and do it ourselves. So little by little, why we kept integrating our total operation to today, the only thing we don't have is a grocery store.
So you made a decision. This is what we do, and by having all the pieces, you have more management control, cost control,
Service. You got quality, continuity of supply, and service. You got to have service. You know what my father told me? My father told me that Bob, he said, I don't care whether you choose a business as a shoe shiner on the street corner. But he said, I want to tell you this. If you decide to shine shoes in the street corner, just do it better than the other guy on that other corner.
Okay.
Simple as that.
So is that it? Be the best?
Pardon?
That's the secret?
Yeah,
Be the best?
be the best. Be the best. No matter what you do, be the best.
Okay.
And be creative. Be creative.
Be willing to change then.
Yeah.
Try new things.
Right. And that's one thing I've been blessed with. 72 years old, and I still think like a young man.
What is it that wakes you up in the morning? Why are you so happy you're doing what you're doing?
Well, you bring a good point. Because the first thing I get up in the morning, I sit on the side of the bed and pound my fists and thank God for giving me another day and all the blessings that He's bestowed upon me. And the way you could really believe that, truly, is to just look out there. Look out there and see that beauty. That's what it is.
John Wargo, our marketing advisor, tells us about the marketing techniques of an award-winning company.
Pace, they're out of Michigan, and they sell equipment through dealers. When this shows up in a particular client's office or at their place of business, from a very small business, it makes them look like a big, sophisticated operation.
Okay, if I want to follow their pattern, do what they're doing, I need to be thinking ahead.
Right, you need to plan out of season is what you really need to be doing. While everybody in the store right now may be buying summer equipment for their lawn, you really need to start thinking about what are you going to do when the snow falls. When the snow falls, you need to be thinking about what are you going to do when the grass starts growing. So the marketing department needs to be out of sync with the selling department.
How did they do it?
Well, one of the things that Pace does, they ask their dealers to put a bowl out and just have customers come in and drop their business card in. What's important is the business card is always the right address. So what Pace does is they're selling lawn equipment, so they're renting lists from the Landscape Association. They're renting lists from other people who are performing similar kind of functions. They've been able to increase their sales by over $10 million. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This happened through a series of disciplined approaches and mailings. But the bottom line is this: by concentrating on a database, by concentrating on the right mailings to the right target audience, you can build your business by millions and millions of dollars. Not overnight, over time. So get in there and stay with it.
To think more like Bob Sakata, think about your processes. How can you lighten the load and make your business and your people more productive? See you next time.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides. The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.